And so I was in fifth grade and I was playing basketball in the Milton Community Center as part of a city league. And we had the best team, there's no doubt about it. And it came down to the final seconds here. And again, fifth grade, I'm tiny. I hardly know how to play basketball. And the seconds are waning down. And I remember a lad was right in my face, guarding me. I couldn't see anything, but I knew that we had no time. So I just threw it up behind myself and hope for the best, and it went in.
Like over the back?
It wasn't quite over the back, but I think it was like I'm sideways to the basket, and I just kind of try to toss it in the goal. And by the grace of the Lord Christ Jesus, it just dropped right in. And I remember the parents of that city league storming the court, and I got tackled, right?
Of course.
By parents, specifically ones that I did not know. And what happens? Well, that was to tie the game. We didn't win the game. So there's a big chaos in the center. We all go our separate ways. We get to overtime. We end up winning the game. And when we're shaking hands, one of the guys, as we're shaking hands, slaps me right in the face. And what do? I mean, you're fifth graders. I didn't know what to do. So I just kept on with my day. So that was the story.
This is one.
Yeah, this was an opponent. Yeah.
So it wasn't like
Sore
an opposing
loser.
coach or anything.
No.
Okay.
I do remember running to my coach, Greg Folk, and I ran straight to him after I hit it, and he lifted me up into the air. That was a good memory.
Wow. That's very sweet. That's very sweet.
Yeah, a loving coach. But that was the story of how I got slapped by another fifth grader, you know?
And
it happens sometimes.
And how you created the hook shot. I think in
Correct.
my mind, I like to think of Kareem is somewhere like off in the stands. Maybe he's over in the corner, leaned up against the wall, and he sees that shot and he says, you know what? I think I'm going to try to do that for a little bit. I think that's what happened. But the timeline may not be, historically right on. But I'd like to think that anyways.
Well, we've long said, what does history matter anyway, you know?
That's right.
Well, tell me about your week, because that was, I don't even know how long ago, 15 years ago-ish? So 15 years later, we're sitting here today, or 16, 17 years, I don't know. We're sitting here today later than when I was in fifth grade, and I'm wanting to know how the past 7 days have been for you.
Well, the past 7 days, I mean, it feels like 15 years since we were last here, even though it was only 7 days. So, but it just feels like so long, being out of fellowship like that. But it was a good week. The first couple days, when you have Thanksgiving and you get that big old, several to-go boxes, and you've got the turkey, you've got the dressing, you've got the gravy. Oh, don't forget, I need 3 to-go boxes full of desserts. So the first half of the week, I think Monday through Wednesday, we were just absolutely grinding on the leftovers. Everyone at my work was jealous at what I was bringing into lunch, because they were sitting there with ham sandwiches, and I was looking down on them like they were peasants because I had, possibly the greatest lunch of all time. So many thanks to all the families out there who put together Thanksgiving food and allowed me to take some of that bait back to my residence. So that was kind of the first half of the week. On either Thursday or Friday, I had an interesting experience. I was thinking to myself, really, the past couple months, that you need to write a will, because I've got a son now. I've had a job for a few years. It just seems like the responsible thing to do whenever you start to grow up a little bit. And so I went online. I texted with my buddy who's in law school. I said, hey, help me out. Do I need to go to a lawyer? Do I need to just do this online? Because, I don't have any assets. I'm not, I don't want to pay a lawyer $600 to write a will for a dude that doesn't have much going for him. But we did it online, and it's just so interesting because as a 24-year-old, there's like questions about, what you want your funeral to look like, where your assets are going to go after you pass and everything. And it was really, it was pretty sobering. It was a sobering experience. I wouldn't say that in the moment it was sobering, but I think a couple days after we did it, I was thinking to myself, it's like, man, we're not here forever, Oh. And writing a will certainly make you realize that. So if you don't have a will, go out there and get one, I mean, if you're over the age of like 18, maybe 21. If you're older than that, you certainly need one. But yeah, it was an interesting experience, even though it was online. Still asked a lot of questions that you got to give a lot of thought to. So that was kind of an interesting and unique deal that I had never done before. It was kind of like jury duty. Like, I have no idea what to expect with the will. I'm like, I don't even know what kind of questions they're going to ask, but they were relatively easy questions, but a lot of them took some forethought and deep consideration. So
that's a good word. Did your belt break halfway through when you were doing your will?
I've got a new belt. And I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think it's real leather. Molly got it from Target. It's probably an $8 belt, and no doubt in about 2 years I'm going to have a similar scenario, and it's going to break at the worst possible time. So I'm kind of excited for it. It keeps me on my toes. You never know when your pants are going to drop in public. So,
oh darn, it happened again.
I'm at the checkout in Publix. My pants just fall to the ground. Like, oh, whoops.
I definitely didn't know that was going to happen.
Oh, gracious. That's
what
funny.
was the most surprising question that you got in your online will?
That's tough. There were so many questions, and we were just hitting them so fast, and half of them you don't even think about beforehand. One of the most interesting questions was like, what do you want to happen to your body, like after you pass? And there's like so many options because it's, it's an online service. So they try to think of everything. And obviously you can click other and like type in your preferences. But I was thinking it was going to be like burial, cremation, pick one of the two. But there's like crazy, there's just so many options there that I never consider. It's like human sacrifice, to Tenochtitlan or, Oaxacan, whatever that dude's name was.
The blood of Quetzalcoatl.
Quetzalcoatl, yeah. There's just so many crazy things. I was like, I think I'm going to go... I'm a traditionalist, and I'm going to go like that to the end,
Well, let me ask you this, because this makes me think. We could hang out here. What to do with your body? Have you ever considered taxidermy?
That's interesting. I've never considered it before. But when you think about it, if you were to do that, I mean, you think about whenever you taxidermy a deer, there's so many different postures you could assume, Like, I mean, whenever they taxidermy a deer, it's pretty much just like a mold, like a foam mold, and then they just pull the hide over it. But you can have one with its nose stuck out like it's, sniffing around for a hot dough, or, one that's turned one way or the other. I don't really know what position I would assume, Hopefully I would be smiling, maybe throwing my head back in laughter. I think that'd be a good way to remember me. What do you think what would your posture be if you were to, if you died and in your will you said, look, take me to a taxidermist and I want to be in this position for the rest of my life? What would that look like?
Well, I've given this some thought, and when I say that, I mean about 10 seconds of it. This past 10 seconds. So what I would say is I want to be in a sitting posture with a bright smile on my face and my eyes open naturally, right? I think sometimes you can smile and your eyes are like this, or your eyes are wide open.
My eyes, I'm a squinty smiler. My eyes are straight closed whenever I smile. So
we'll do a little eyelid opening, but I say that because then I can be transported. They can put me in the back seat of the car and take me to parties.
Weekend at Bernie's style.
Can you imagine a taxidermied body just sitting in the corner at a Christmas party? I mean, how much more fun could you have than that?
It would be very creepy. I'll say that.
But
wow,
I think that's what I got to go with. I wonder if anybody has been taxidermied before.
Yeah, that's an excellent question. I don't know how well the body would hold up, because we don't really have like hide to where you can salt it and tan it on the other side and it be preserved for a long time. I don't know how they would do that. But we've got mummies, right? And they kind of preserve themselves. So,
and you can do an internal freezing.
Oh, cryogenic.
Your freezing carries the body. Captain America, think about that. Mm-hmm. How long was he frozen? I
think like 70 years.
Wow, we're gonna need a lot longer than that.
We are. Wow, what an interesting route this podcast took that I was not expecting. But look. That's why everyone listens to it, right? That's why we have millions of listeners every week.
Exactly.
That's great. Well, I would say the last thing, just touching on our Christmas exercise challenge. Monday and Tuesday, I had that leftover kind of hangover from Thanksgiving. I was feeling sluggish. Oh gosh, I was feeling sluggish. So Monday and Tuesday, Tuesday, I think I walked, but I didn't do anything strenuous. And then Wednesday, I put my foot down and I got up at 4:45 and I was in the gym by 5. And Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, I was able to go in there and get some work in the gym. So I feel like our Christmas challenge really kind of pushed me over the edge there. And once you get 1 or 2 days under your belt of waking up early and hitting the gym like that, it's just natural. It's one after the other. You're going to bed earlier, but honestly, it's kind of nice. So.
Oh yeah, I feel that. I also did that as well. I didn't go to the gym 4 days in a row. My rhythm has been walk 6 miles, next day go to the gym, then walk in the afternoon, and then the next day walk in the morning, rest at night, and do that same rhythm. So it's on, off for the gym. Try to do some form of walking every day, but it's been good. Yesterday, I did a little pickleballing. After not pickleballing for about a month, Connor and I hit the courts once again, and it was just a blast. Then that night I played basketball. Like, when I say competitive, I don't mean in a tournament or any sorts, but I also don't mean just shooting around, recreationally. So somewhere in the middle, like we kept score. It was competitive game, but it wasn't. There was no monetary or trophiacal, if you'll allow me to use that word, meaning
Yep.
there was a trophy involved.
Trophies. Yeah.
There was none of that. So that was good because it's been so long. It was great exercise. I kind of tweaked my ankle a little bit, but we played through the pain, because what does pain produce? Pain produces suffering. And what does suffering produce? It produces endurance. And what does endurance produce? It produces character. And so that was just an opportunity of a lifetime right there. Here's what else I did. Acts 11, taught on that. Now, I'll be honest. When people say I think I teach on things too long, if I'm being honest with you. There's a mix that I have to find where to cut out the content
Right.
and save it for side conversations. That's a process that I'm in right now, but it's been good. I will shout out on Friday, I spent some time with a producer named Orsay. He's also, more importantly, a friend named Joseph Dorsey. And we just got to cooking in the lab a little bit, having some fun. So that was exciting. Hadn't done that before. That was our first time doing some collaboration together. And he was teaching me some tricks, which I appreciated greatly. Then that night, hit the Cheesecake Factory. All right. So there's a Southwest Campus worship team dinner. And here's the funny thing is I don't go to the Southwest Campus and I'm not on the worship team. However, I fill in every now and then on the worship team at the Southwest Campus. So I got the invite, which I greatly appreciated and I was undeserving of, but I went anyway because it was Cheesecake Factory and I got the Thai coconut lime chicken. Never gotten that before, but let me tell you this. It was amazing. And you spoke of leftovers. Well, I had leftovers and they were amazing. And then I got the classic Basque cheesecake. Now, what the classic Basque cheesecake is it's the classic Basque cheesecake. It's classic cheesecake with a burnt top, much like that of the Texas Longhorns, burnt orange on the top with your mixed berries. So you're looking at blueberries, raspberries, blackberries, and then some whipped topping. And it was great. It was a 9 out of 10 meal. I'll be honest.
Wow.
They ordered fried macaroni and cheese for the table.
Oh.
I didn't want it at first because I was trying to hold back, but they brought it out and it was like, oh my goodness. These are pompous balls of fried mac and cheese. So you have to try it.
You can't hold off from that.
Precisely. So that was great. Watched some football, went to church, and now we're here. Fantastic week, if you ask me.
Wow. I must ask, the bass cake, first off, is it bass or is it like a largemouth bass?
Nope. It's Basque, like the
basking.
French. Not quite. It's BASQUE. Basque.
Never in a million years would I have guessed it had a Q in it. So you've got the burnt. Is it like a creme brulee where they torch the top and it's hard, crunchy?
Not crunchy on the top. It's just, I don't know how they do it, honestly. It just says burnt top.
Fair enough.
Burnt, yeah. I don't even know if they know how they do it.
There's one guy at the Cheesecake Factory.
Yeah.
He works in a closet and he makes the original Basque cheesecake.
Yes,
he just slides
that's
them out
his only
the door.
Job.
No one's allowed to go in there while he does it.
Exactly. But I think it was the best cheesecake I had from there.
Well, that's awesome. They've certainly got a plethora of options of cheesecakes, appetizers, you name it. Their menu is like you know, I don't even know what's a big book. Maybe Narnia or
Yeah.
the Odyssey or something like that. It's a big, big book with millions of options. Usually,
Yeah.
whenever the server comes out, I haven't made it through the second page. And I'm like, look, you're gonna have to keep bringing me bread for the next hour and a half so I can look through this massive menu. I will order, and I will not be hungry enough to eat my meal, so I'll immediately ask for a doggy bag. But Cheesecake Factory is they there's so many options, and they do a pretty good job. But you just got to imagine the chefs, the strain that puts on them, Like Raising Cane's, they only do tenders. They don't do sandwiches. I don't think they do salads. They just do tenders. And it's easy for their chefs that way. But I can only imagine being a chef back there, and it's, you've got 1,000 options and just random options are coming in like crazy. Seems pretty stressful to me.
Yeah, that makes me think. I wonder, now this is going to be more costly, but it's also going to produce a better experience and ultimately bring better word of mouth marketing and advertising by making great products. And that would happen if they hired chefs that only dealt with one thing. So like Raising Cane's only does chicken tenders. Well, this chef, we'll call him Ryan, he only does hamburger or any meat type, like ground beef, cow patty, etc. Well, not cow patty, but the patty from a cow. Um, I have a shovel and I'm gonna lay it down right now, and we're gonna move on. So Ryan does the cow,
Ryan does
and
cow
then you have
patties.
yep,
And when he's
and
waiting for
then
the orders to roll in, he's sitting in the back with his feet kicked up. Someone's like, hey, Ryan, we got a cheeseburger. He's like, let's go.
yeah, what is it? 12 years old. And then you have Katie, who is on chicken. So any dish with chicken. And then you have Aurora on fish. So you have your specialized chefs, which they would be able to perfect their craft since it's so specialized. But again, it'd be more costly to hire such specialized chefs.
For sure.
But maybe that's just temporary cost for the ultimate long-term gain. I don't know how they do it, but there's a business model for you.
Yeah, somebody somewhere has run the numbers on it. And that guy isn't me. So
It's not I either.
speaking of, numbering and mysteries and things like that, I'm sure you've seen the playoff selection for college football that just recently came out earlier today. Takes a big sip of water because this is going to be a fat conversation. Proceeds to choke on the water.
My apologies. I'm ready.
Well, what are your thoughts on the rankings? I mean, you must be pretty happy. Texas is in at 3, right?
Yeah, well, let me first say hook 'em, okay? Even after they won, I didn't think they were going to get in. And that's just a testament to my faith in the Texas Longhorns, really. But I was pleasantly surprised when all the analyses started coming out, saying there's no way Texas doesn't get in after they beat Oklahoma State in such a convincing fashion, and then Alabama beat Georgia. Now, so you have Alabama 1, Washington 2, Texas 3, Alabama 4. No, Michigan 1. My apologies. I think I misspoke earlier.
Michigan 1.
Alabama. Yep. So FSU, the undefeated Power 5 conference champion, gets snubbed, or some people are calling it, I believe their coach a disgust. Unwarranted injustice is the verbiage that the FSU athletic director has used. And first off, that's demeaning. You're kind of taking value away from the term of true injustice when you say that. But
Right.
that's a theological conversation for another time. Anyway,
yeah, I mean, I think justice, true justice, looks like all of us going to hell, because that's what we all deserve, right?
precise.
We all deserve to perish, but thankfully Jesus came down to earth and made it so that didn't have to happen. But as far as college football goes, I don't know. Obviously, Florida State is upset. Georgia lost last night. I yelled a few Roll Tides myself. Molly was getting a little upset because I kind of took on this Roll Tide persona. I was conjuring my best Harvey Updike that I could do, just because I wanted Georgia to lose so bad. Obviously, I wanted Florida State to lose as well, but it's just a little more poetic that they won and still didn't make the playoffs. So look, they're mad. It's unfortunate. But from where I stand, as a Florida fan with a losing season, I think this is probably the only positive, that could have come out of this whole scenario. Florida State a long time ago had the chance to join the SEC, and then, Bobby Bowden comes out and says, no, we didn't want to play in the SEC because, the road to the championship would be too tough. And it's, the ACC is just a better option for us. And it turns out that, several years down the line, it kind of cursed Florida State because they didn't really have any signature wins, and their strength of schedule was frankly rubbish. So I'm not super surprised they didn't make it. I think they probably would have been obliterated by whoever they played in the top three, especially without Jordan Travis. But I think for me personally, them and Georgia missing out on the playoff is probably the best outcome that I could have hoped for. So
you sound like an SEC homer.
I'm not an SEC homer. I'm not at all. I'm cheering for Washington to win it all. I hope Alabama loses. I don't care, I don't care about Texas coming to the SEC next year. I think it's hilarious that they were chanting SEC and booing the Big 12 commissioner after they won the championship. I thought that was pretty hilarious. But honestly, I'm cheering for Washington to win it all. So you can't really call me a homer for that. I'm just a Gators fan. I want to see Georgia lose, and I want to see Florida State lose. Other than that, I couldn't really care less.
Yeah. I do feel, if any FSU fans are watching, I feel bad for you because as soon as that happened, I put myself in your shoes as if Quinn Ewers gets hurt from Texas. And he did. And we had a backup quarterback for 2 games, and he won. Not him himself, but the team won with the backup quarterback in the game. They were close games, but they still got it done. Quinn Ewers comes back, dominates. We're good to go. But if that were to happen, we were in those same shoes, and we didn't get in. It would be sad. It's not the end of the world, right? The world continues on. As I was listening to a sermon this week, he said something like this person is utterly convinced that wins and losses in college football and how college football happens and turns out and how coaches do things, etc. None of that drama is going to matter in heaven. And so, while at the same time you can be sad about it, don't be frustrated to the point of sin. Don't be sad to the point of unbelief in the Lord's plan, or something that leads you to and causes you to sin against another person, or more importantly, sin against God, right? The first thing you have to check is your heart. And so often before we sin against people, we sin against God. And I just don't want that to happen to these fans of FSU or Georgia or Alabama. Like, you can go either way. The people who got snubbed, or Alabama fans who may be feeling a little bit prideful today. You just got to check yourself, examine your life and your heart and your mind against the word of Scripture. And so there's a connection, how you can turn football into a way to glorify the Lord.
Well, I think it's obviously, it's appropriate that you would be bringing this up, talking about don't be angry when your team is number 3 and actually made the playoffs. So I think that's a little funny.
Well, let's take a look at the past 13 years of suffering. All right,
wandering in the proverbial desert.
Yeah, fasting from college football success for 13 straight years.
I think it's really fair. No, I think it's certainly a fair point. I know I'm guilty of it. I know my son is guilty of it. He's 9 months old. I caught him on my laptop last night after I went to bed. I was like, what's that noise? I heard some huffing and puffing. He had gotten my computer. I caught him in his crib. He was creating a website, firebillynapier.com. I was like, Stetson, what are you doing, man? He was enraged, but look, a lot of us are. And so that's when he listened to the podcast this week. I want to kind of specifically point him to that message that you just said. Because it's not everything. It's not everything.
And I'll be honest, it's hardly anything in the grand scheme of things. Now, I know that will be tough to hear for some people, but it's just the truth.
Well, once again, looking down from your high horse, it's easy, but, we can move on to another subject. But
Oh, well, have you heard about curling? The sports that swept the nation, swept the world?
I know what curling is. That's all.
That was a play on words. All right, so we'll do a little lesson for our listeners. Is basically you're on ice and you have to sweep the ice, for lack of a better word, and get like a shuffleboard type item to stop in a certain place. It's shuffleboard on ice, except you have 2 other people going down the ice, sweeping the ice, trying to get your spot for the shuffleboard ball, curling ball. I forget what they call it. Anyway, more importantly, Kelly Schaefer, which I don't know if you know who she is, but she's an absolute curling legend. Well, get this. Kelly Schaefer was born in Scotland. She's Scottish. Shout out Brett.
My heritage.
Shout out to Jennifer Hilston. So the Scotland curler, Kelly Schaefer, she's not representing Scotland in the 2024 curling championships. You know who she's representing? She's representing the old Maple Leaf, Canada. So we've gone from Scotland to Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so this is big because what she's going to be doing is she's going to be representing Canada in Montrose, which is 65 kilometers from her Scottish... No. Where the curling championships are 65 kilometers from her hometown, Montrose, Scotland. So are you following?
Yeah. So
she's turned her back on her home country. Then she's playing for another country and going to her home country and going to win the championship in 2024.
She did. No, so she hasn't competed yet.
She hasn't, but she's projected favorite.
Wow, you leave your country, no doubt they're salty because she's an athlete, an absolute beast. And then to win the championship, she has to go back to Scotland. I'm assuming she's not going to get the warmest welcome.
It's true. It's like Kevin Durant returning to the Thunder. She's. I don't know why she switched, but Kelly, if you're listening, we just wish you good luck and that you were going to go into Scotland and you will leave Scotland alive. That's what we're wishing.
Yeah, keep up the work, as we like to say.
Absolutely.
Whether it's good or bad, just keep it up.
Precisely. But that's my sporting news. I thought it was quite fascinating. Something to keep the eye out on come 2024.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm going to have to be, I don't know when it is in 2024, but I'll be sure to be.
October 19th.
That week in October, I'm going to be cruising the county arrest reports in Scotland there. See if we can find somebody getting dang locked up for it. But one thing that you'll probably find interesting is that you would never know it from watching this podcast, but my house is in absolute disarray 98% of the time. The other 2% is when this podcast is recording, because every single Sunday afternoon, we hire a nanny through MadeMeClean.com, the nanny service that requires no instruction. So when my family and I are at church, the nanny this Sunday, her name is Barbara, comes to my home and cleans up the place. The beautiful thing about this is that we don't have to leave keys or instructions. They're able to pick the lock and begin to clean. So magically, within 45 minutes, all the dust and debris and trash and diapers in the corner, they're all gone. Sometimes we can't even find where Stetson's toys are and where Molly's clothes went. So there's no worries. My wife restocks those supplies at Target every week. I get the bill for it, and that's a whole nother discussion. But it's a great service. They come on in, they pick the lock. We've got a digital lock, so she's got some sort of technology that she makes her way in. She cleans the place, does a heck of a job. Sometimes the safe is emptied when we come in, but that's the price of doing business, I guess, So it's just like yesterday, Molly had an event. She had a favorite things party. And so I come home Friday. I'm like, dude, I just got off work. No way I'm cleaning this house. Called up Barbara. Funny thing is, her last name is also Walters. Barbara Walters comes over. She's got that 20/20 vision, and she goes through and does a quick sweep of the house and makes sure everything is right in order. So it's an awesome service.
That sounds, well, I'll just say magical. Do you know how much it costs, or mind sharing how much it costs? It's okay. It's a personal question, but I was just curious.
No, it's okay. I'll tell you. It's only like, oh gosh. So she charges differently every time she invoices us. So I get it a couple weeks after, but it basically is depending on how messy your house is. So really, like, if she comes in and it's not too messy, it can be like close to $300. But if it's an absolute mess, it could be anywhere from $700 to $800 per visit. So it just kind of goes, it's a range based on the filth in your house. And then you also have to account kind of like what she takes out of the safe, and if there's any weapons lying around, she takes those as well. So it's a give and take.
That makes sense. Well, I can tell you this much, is your house looks pristine from where I'm standing.
Well, I appreciate that. Barbara, she outdid herself this morning. So shout out to Barbara Walters. We appreciate everything she does.
Yeah, way to go, Barb. So as we're thinking about people who have commented and mean comments, good comments, I want to celebrate something with you, because as our followers have been watching on our social media channels such as TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram, you'll be following along with our basketball series. And on our YouTube channel, our friend named Oren Clausen, sounds German. I don't know him personally, but I love him generously and deeply, as well as Brett here. And he just says, after we missed the shots at the free throw line, he shares with us, keep going, try again. You'll get it next time. And I just thought that was so kind and so lovely of him to say. So if you had some words to share with Oren, what would you tell him face to face?
I would tell him, thank you. Honestly, your words mean so much to me. I'm a big words of affirmation guy. So this is huge for me. And so with words of affirmation, like positive comments mean so much, but also negative comments mean so much. So when I told my family about this, they were like, of course you're terrible at basketball. And that doesn't feel great. But when a guy like Oren comes along, it makes up for it. Honestly, it cancels it out. So I really, really appreciate it. Mr. Clausen, which might be Santa Claus in disguise. Let's just say that might be his handle on YouTube for all you kiddos out there.
True. I did see something on his account that said he was based out of the North Pole. So,
Seems like we've really struck a nerve with him. So,
yeah.
Hopefully, whenever we post more like that, the half court shots and things like that, maybe we'll get a little more interaction with him. That would be awesome.
Yeah, he's lovely. But speaking of Santa Claus, I'm kind of curious as we're not even approaching, we are in the midst, we are saturated in the Christmas season. Praise the Lord.
Amen.
For baby Jesus. What are your top 3 Christmas songs? And if you don't want to commit to top 3 all time, just say, what are some 3 songs that you love about Christmas?
Yeah, I don't want to commit to top 3 all time because it's like any music. It just flows with how I'm feeling. But 3 that I'm loving right now is Ave Maria by Michael Bublé. I don't know what any of the words mean, but it's possibly the most beautiful song of the Christmas season, or maybe even of all time. I know that you are a massive fan of Mr. Bublé, like bordering on obsession. But that's my favorite from his Christmas album there. Also, Christmas All Year Long by Cody Johnson is a great one. That one's obviously got some country roots to it. And then the last one is You'll Shoot Your Eye Out by Fall Out Boy. It's their Christmas song, and it's very Fall Out Boy. I'll say that. They've got kind of a niche. I don't know how to pronounce it. They've got a niche where they're kind of a sad boy song, but this is more of a spiteful boy song. But yeah, go out there and listen to it. It's not your typical Christmas song, but it's pretty good. So
it kind of sounds frightening.
It is a little frightening, actually. There's some disturbing imagery in it.
Well, I'm excited to listen to it.
What are your 3 right now?
I'm going to kick us off with Mr. Bubbles as well. Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas. I can't get it out of my head. I would sing it right now, but I won't patronize our listeners in such a unwanting and undesiring manner. Then I'm going to move forward and say, Oh Holy Night. Literally any live version of Oh Holy Night where they hit a high note in there at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it just gets my bones riled up in appreciation for the Lord. And then finally, "O Come All You Unfaithful" by Mr. Cottrell, Travis Cottrell. And it's a kind of a playoff of "O Come All You Faithful," but the messaging is more so "O Come All You Unfaithful," as in, quite frankly, there's going to be a point in your life where you're not faithful. And we can break that down to every day in your life. You will not be faithful to some extent. Yet the Lord continues to invite, and the Lord continues to accept. And the Lord continues to strengthen and create perseverance and create endurance in his people. And so I thought that was an encouraging song to listen to and to have on the rotation.
He's got another song, and I can't think of the name of it, from Travis. Is it Cottrell? I've been saying
Cottrell.
Is it Cottrell?
I always say Cottrell, but I just like the way it sounds. I could be very wrong.
I think it's "In the First Light," maybe "In the First Night." One of them, but it's an absolute banger. It's one of those that starts out slow, and then you're just screaming it at the end. So that's a good one too. That's a little bonus for me, but that's a really, really good one.
I love it. I think I've heard that one before. He's a beast. I'll say that much.
No doubt. He kind of, truth be told, he kind of reminds me of your dad a little bit.
Oh.
They've got a lot in common. They're both cool guys.
Why don't you publicly say what he reminds you of?
He reminds me of your dad. That's what he reminds me of.
They
love to sing publicly on stage in front of people. And not just sing, they love to lead worship. And that's really all I know about Travis Cottrell. But they love, they're entertainers. They love to be out there in front of everybody. And I know that's probably your dad's favorite part about being a music minister, is getting up there and, being a rock star every Sunday morning.
Yeah.
He told me that.
Black jeans, black shirts.
Oh, yeah.
Silver chain, unbutton the first three. Kind of spike the hair.
Sneakers, white sneakers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Heck yeah.
Well, we've been talking a lot about Travis Cottrell, and he's a big SEC fan. If you didn't know, I know he's been on a couple of different podcasts, and it kind of connects to what we've been talking about all the playoffs, etc. And I just wanted to ask, if your team didn't make the playoffs, if you're looking for some ways to blow off all that steam you've accrued over the past 48 hours. Well, luckily, now introducing the CFP Voodoo Dolls. This Voodoo Doll set is complete with every member of the College Football Playoff Committee, so you can finally enact your enraged desires. Each doll is manufactured with military-grade Kevlar, meaning that you can release your anger all off-season long without the dolls wearing down. Get yours at Flobo.com today and finally exorcise those proverbial demons. Now, me saying this and me promoting this makes me look like a hypocrite, because not less than 20 minutes ago, I was sharing with you all that there's no point in getting angry about this, because it's temporary, as Brett talked about in his will. Life is temporary. There's something greater and more meaningful on the other side of your life on this earth. And so why would you not live for something that's meaningful and greater, bringing heaven down to earth? Now, what I've just said obviously contradicts that, and I just want to share with you a little bit about the internal struggle I have, because this, while publicly shared, on some levels, metaphorically speaking, is an internal battle, right? We can say, and I have the knowledge of a lot of the correct biblical things to do, but my heart has yet to be transformed internally. And so this is that exemplified publicly, but it's also an analogy and a metaphor of what's going on internally. So I recognize that my words and actions to you are different than what I've just shared here. And I want you to know that to some extent, every single day, that is the case in my life. And I want to get better at that. So while I'm sponsoring and advertising this company, I also want to publicly confess my sin to you, because the more I do that, the less I sin in that regard. So those are my proverbial demons that I've exercised in this moment.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that. And look, I mean, I know we read the ads, and so technically the words are coming from us, right? But the advertisers, they write up these scripts for us, these ad reads, and they pay us to say the words. So, you know, I'm not holding it against you. I understand the business side of it. You got to do what you got to do to make ends. But
Yeah.
it's
and
okay.
because we don't have any subscriber only content subscribers, we have to compromise on our beliefs
Yeah,
to make money.
unfortunately, and it's kind of been that way from the beginning. So, like you said, if we get more of those subscribers, we wouldn't have to stoop, to hypocrisy and all these things, so that we can, really, frankly, even break even. I mean, we're struggling to do that. I mean, we're in over our heads financially. I'm not going to go down the whole rabbit hole, but yeah, we've got to be transformed by the renewing of our minds. And it's tough to do that when we're reading ads for companies that don't really seem to have the same beliefs as us. But look, I don't hold it against you at all. I'm in the same boat. We're in this together. So,
Yeah. Two wretched reprobates.
amen. Amen.
Well, what's a song this week that you've listened to that's kind of making you groove a little bit or making you cry a little bit? Just something that induces emotion.
Well, I'll say on my early morning workouts, I've been listening to a lot of Flyleaf, which is early to mid 2000s like hard rock, because it gets my body moving. But this particular group has a Christian background, so they've got some secular songs and some that are a little more faith-based. They're not producing like worship songs or anything like that, but it's kind of like a Switchfoot vibe. Like the song could be secular, but like if you're a believer and you listen to it, you're like, oh, I know what they're talking about. You know what I'm saying? So the song is All Around Me by Flyleaf, but I've been listening to a lot of them in the mornings whenever I work out, because it really just gets my heart pumping. I pound my head. I'm in there early, so typically I'm by myself. But if you were to look in at me, half the time I'm just sitting there, on a bench between sets, just doing this, just banging the head back and forth. And that's something that I wish I would have done more when I had long hair. I didn't bang my head as much as I should have, and I regret that. But
You still have a few years to grow that hair out.
I can grow it out, but I'll tell you, I'm getting some grays on the side. The sideburns, man. I had like 2 straight silver hairs in there the other day. And I don't know if
I
it's
think they're going to
work.
call you the Silver Fox.
A little salt and pepper, some Just for Men's. That's going to be my next ad read.
Absolutely.
Oh, but yeah, that's what I've been listening to. And we'll, of course, add these songs to the Spotify collection. I think we've got a few people who have hearted the playlist, so there's some folks out there who are jamming to it.
Absolutely.
What are you listening to?
I'll tell you, in the old Gainesville, there was a bit of a cold front this week. It got to the 30-degree weather, the 40-degree weather.
Wow.
And that's just weather that's pristine for turtlenecks. and it just made a song come to mind called Turtleneck Nights by this guy named Ballin' Brett and this other guy named Flo Bo, I think. Or Flu Boo. I
think it's
forget how to pronounce his name.
I think you're right. I think it's Flubu.
Flu Boo. And so it's just a vibe. There's a little like chimes in there. It kind of takes me back to speaking of my father's worship skills. He always had the chimes going during worship, and it kind of took me back to that spot. And it was a beautiful spot in my life. Really, every point in my life is beautiful, but I love the chimes, and it just adds a great degree of childhood, coming of age, if you will. So it's beautiful. If you're a fan of chimes.
Of course. So
If you're not a fan of chimes, do not listen.
right. So if you like chimes and you like cold weather, Turtleneck Nights seems. I've listened to it a couple times. It seems like that would be the perfect song to listen to when it's super cold out. So that's a great word, and I'm excited to add that to the playlist. So,
Oh, yeah. Well, if you had to rate your week on a scale of 7 to 13, what are you going with? Past 7 days since we've been with one another virtually.
I would say 11 and 7/8.
That's pretty powerful.
I was debating on 12 and a quarter, but 11 and 7/8 because honestly, work has just been, now that all of our big inspections and everything like that are passed, it's just been so much less stress. I've been working some better hours, getting to spend a little more time with Molly and Stetson, so just super grateful. And then, yeah, the leftovers from Thanksgiving, you add all that together, getting in a good routine, exercising. It's been a really stellar week. What are you sitting at?
First off, praise the Lord for that report.
Amen.
I'm going 12.18. 12.18 I feel confident in. It's been a great week. Not a perfect week, right? We're never going to hit that 13 mark, but 12.18, room for improvement. But also, I have to go with you on that work thing. It's a blast, and you get home and you just have a party at the same time. I had some leftovers as well from Thanksgiving, peanut butter pie specifically, which makes me salivate a little bit because it's just that good. But yeah, great week. Any final thoughts for our listeners?
2 final thoughts from me. First off, I reconsidered. I think I shortchanged myself. It's been a better week than I thought. I think 12.19 is probably the actual number because it's been honestly one of the best weeks in a long time, like a long time. So 12.19 is my answer. I was thinking 7 to 13. I was thinking 1 to 10. So I was going to give it like an 8.5, but it's actually only 6. So you got to,
yes.
It's not the numbers that count. It's the ratios.
Precise.
You know what I'm saying?
Precise.
Not the numbers
Absolutely.
that matter. It's the ratios. So I'm going to go 12.19, possibly even higher than that because it was such a great week. Second thing, over my shoulder here to my right, maybe your left or right, I don't know where you're watching, there's a pillow, and it's a season greetings pillow from the two of us. And we're sporting turtlenecks, and I have glasses on. I don't typically wear glasses, but I think they're pretty chic. And I gave the description last week. We're on top of the world, quite literally. And it just sets the mood in your living room. It's a conversation piece. So I would encourage you all to go to flobo.com, purchase one of these bad boys because they're selling like hotcakes.
Yeah, we've received reports that say things like, I just dreamt the greatest dream of my entire existence after sleeping with on the pillow. Um, and so you just never know what's going to happen. But praise the Lord for that success. Well, as always, we love you deeply and we love you generously. And we're going to see you in 7 days.